I used to spend my summers as a camp counselor when I was in my early 20s. I got in a lot of trouble when I was younger, and a big reason was that I didn't have any positive role models growing up. So being able to spend my summers out in nature and be a role model to kids was such a rewarding experience and helped me to eventually turn my own life around. However, not every experience was a pleasant one. This specific story happened back in the summer of 2019. At that time, I had already worked at the camp as a counselor for 5 years. Each counselor was given a group of kids, and you were basically responsible for that group, almost like a teacher with a classroom. The summer camp I was at was not like a lot of summer camps that you'd see in movies or TV. It wasn't your typical summer camp bunking situation. Instead of it just being this big barracks-like room, it was set up a lot like a house. You walk in the front door, and you enter this big common area with a TV, a wraparound couch, and a small kitchenette. The common room had a hallway that led to 3 bedrooms. Each room had 4 beds, so I was responsible for 12 campers. My room was on the other side of the common room. The living situation was designed like this to basically give the teens a taste of what it may be like to live in dorms when they go away to college in a few years. One morning, one of the campers came to me and told me that he kept hearing someone walking around all night, and it was keeping him awake. I told him that it was probably one of the other campers using the bathroom, but he didn't think so. He said that he's heard the footsteps for 2 nights now, and when he does, he can hear them all night. I told him I would look into it, and it was nothing to worry about. I honestly assumed it was most likely one of the other campers messing around with the kid. That night, when everyone was in the common room before lights out, I made an announcement to all my campers. I reminded them that once it's lights out, that means everyone is required to stay in bed unless they have to use the bathroom. Most of the campers looked at me with that oblivious look in their eyes, but all shook their heads in agreement. Right before 1 in the morning, I heard several of my campers screaming. I jumped out of bed and ran to their room. When I turned on the light, the 4 teenagers in that room looked like they had seen a ghost. One of them was even in tears. When I asked what happened, one of the kids just pointed to the doorway. The one who came to me earlier about the footsteps finally spoke up. He said he saw a figure standing by the closet door. He thought he was going crazy, so he tried to ignore the figure and go back to sleep, but he couldn't. He said he could hear the sound of heavy breathing. It was too dark in there to see for sure if it was actually a person. It just looked like a shadow obstructing the closet doorway. Instead of freaking out, he woke up his roommates. They also saw the figure, but they didn't know what it was. Apparently, the camper who was in tears was convinced it was one of the other campers from the other room playing a joke on them. He decided to get out of bed and approach the shadowy figure, and when he did, the figure ran out of the room and slammed the door behind it. That's what caused them all to scream. When I asked one camper who tried to approach him if he got a good look at the figure, he said no. But whatever or whoever it was tall, really tall. That's when he knew it wasn't one of the other campers. I still wasn't convinced a random shadowy figure was just standing in their room. I told them to stay in their beds and I'd look around and make sure nobody was there. Due to all the commotion, the other 2 rooms were awake and were asking what was going on, and I told them to just stay in their rooms. I was convinced that it had to be another camper, maybe even one from another dorm. I believed that they thought they saw something, especially because I could see the fear in that one kid's eyes. I just didn't think it was anything to get worked up about. I searched the house, and I didn't see anybody, or even any evidence that anybody had broken in. The door was still locked, and there wasn't even any mud or grass tracked in from outside. It took a little while, but eventually I got the campers to relax and calm down. I decided to sit in the common room for a while and read. I was wide awake now, and I also wanted to see if this prankster was going to resurface tonight. I started to doze off after a while. I wasn't even fully asleep yet when I heard the wood floor creaking from down the hall. I sat completely still for a second because I wanted to make sure I was hearing what I thought I was hearing. It was footsteps, there was no doubt about it. I got up and slowly made my way to the hallway. I didn't want to turn on the light and scare them away. Remember, I thought this was another camper, so I wanted them to think they were getting away with their little prank. I expected to see one of them standing there like a deer caught in headlights, but that's not what I got. When I looked down that hallway, standing in front of an open window was a tall figure. I couldn't make out any details from this figure, but it was there. It was a dark silhouette, clearly a person. Its hand was on the doorknob of the same room that it had been earlier. I didn't scream because I didn't want to wake up the campers or scare them any more than they already were.